Hello folks, this is Alex Singleton, CEO, CTO, and founder of Bucephalus Web Development. And today I will be demonstrating how to create a server-side Maria database instance via Amazon Web Services. And I do these tutorials for a few reasons. One is to prove that we are indeed everything we say we are, which is that we are full-stack engineers trained in the art of business. And you really can't do that unless you can lead by example from the front end to the back end. And secondly, really just to show others how to code, or at least appreciate it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin. If you could please pull up two Chrome windows and set them side by side like I have here. One on the left is the Amazon Web Services dashboard console, and the other one on the right is my GitHub repo. If you notice on the left, that's the console. You can actually log in or create a free account by registering with Amazon Web Services. Simply Google Amazon Web Services and sign up and register for a free account to do this tutorial. On the right, you want to pull up my GitHub repository here. That's the actual URL, and then you'll select on repositories. You'll click this. This was basically a graduate level lab that I've repurposed for a little bit of a tutorial or an exercise here, which I thought was very good. Anyway, on the left here, let's go ahead and get started. Just type in RDS for Relational Database Service to begin. And we'll see a big blue button called Launch Database Instance. Once it pulls up, and my internet for some reason is a little slow right now. Go ahead and reload this. Wow, my internet's really slow today. Okay, Launch DB Instance. And then you'll notice a selection of engines available. We're going to select MariaDB. And to give you a little bit of a background on this, MariaDB is essentially MySQL, but the founders of MySQL basically forked off and did their own thing, created MariaDB right after the Sun Microsystems acquisition of MySQL, which I believe is in the early 2000s. Anyway, a little bit more of a factoid there for you. Maria, I believe, is the daughter of one of the founders of MySQL, who became one of the founders of MariaDB. So anyway, let's go ahead and select that. We're going to select the MariaDB dev test. And then we're going to go ahead and select most of these default settings, except a few things here. One is the general public release. That's fine. 10.0.24 is fine. Instance class, select micro, since it's going to be a very small demo tutorial. We don't have a need or requirement for some sort of backups or redundancies, so just select no there. And on the rest of these, we'll just go ahead and call these accordingly. I'm just going to select Bucephalus, call it whatever you want, and then you're going to select a master username and password, which I'd recommend using a password manager of some type. I'm going to go ahead and note those fields in right now. Bear with me 1 second. I'm going to pull it up. And I'm going to call the database again Bucephalus. The username I'll call Alexander. And I'm going to randomly generate a set of passwords here. Go ahead and confirm. And there we go. For the subnet group, select default. Default's fine for VPC. Publicly accessible is fine. Preference, availability zone, no preference at all, I would select. Default VPC, make sure that's selected for VPC security groups. That's really the only thing you're going to really note in here. For the rest, for this exercise, we're going to go ahead and create a database called Crash Course. So after we instantiate this database or load it or create it, this instance will already contain an empty database called Crash Course. Go ahead and just call it that. The database port will be 3306, which I'll explain a little bit more later. Everything else here is fine for default settings. So go ahead and select now Launch DB Instance. Now this will take about 5 minutes to actually fully instantiate. So if you go to view your DB instances, you'll see that this one is loading. I have a few more that I've worked with academically here for other exercises, but for the intents and purposes of this tutorial, just refer to this instance where we're going to be talking about here throughout the rest of the tutorial. So anyway, it'll take about 5 minutes. I'm going to return here and pause the tutorial, but now for you, it might be a good time to go grab a drink and then come back in about 5 minutes, and it should be available, ready for you to pursue the tutorial. I'm back here, and so we're going to do a few things here first just to sort of proceed with the rest of this tutorial. You're going to want to do this. Copy and paste your endpoint into an editor, and I'm just going to pull up Sublime here. So I've already pasted this here, and it's going to be following this convention for the command line parameters here. It's going to be your AWS endpoint, just go ahead and copy and paste it here. But if you're in a Mac terminal, you're going to want to truncate or delete this last section here, because that port number will go here after the port parameter, which is -P, and then -U, your lowercase, your username, which we created when we launched the instance. But I'll go over this here in a bit. Anyway, copy and paste that there, or at least prepare it for this command line parameter here, or parameters, and we'll continue here in a moment. But again, put your username there, and then this --T will essentially generate your history for the session within the terminal. So your history session terminal output will be created in a separate text file, but we'll go over this here in a moment. But just go ahead and, again, notate all of these files accordingly. What we're going to do here is one thing. We're going to wrap up the security here. If you can click on that little icon there in the configuration details, we're going to go to security groups, and then we're going to click on inbound, edit that, and then the source IP. This will essentially whitelist your IP address for access only. So nobody else but your public IP address, which should be displayed here, it'll be different, of course, than mine, will be able to access this instance you'll be creating. So go ahead and save that, and we'll go back to the actual dashboard there. Oops. I lost where I was, I guess my tracking, RDS. Go back to that console there. You should be back here. Again, to get back there, click on the cube and then click on RDS. You should be back right where you should be, and then hit instances. So now we're back where we need to be. Now we're ready for the command line. So I'm going to go ahead and launch my terminal. I use iTerm, but if you're in Mac, probably just hit Command space bar, then type in terminal. And I'm going to go ahead and CD into the desktop. And then I'm going to go over to that GitHub window I pulled up earlier. If you notice that I went into the GWMSISTDB repo that I created, I'm going to hit clone or download, copy that URL into your terminal window. Just hit clone. And that'll clone that right on your desktop, and I'll move this over here to show you. So you see there, that folder repo has been cloned onto my desktop. I'm going to go ahead and go into that directory. So as you can see, I'm now in that folder from the command line. I'm going to go ahead and launch all the content that's contained within that folder into Sublime, my text editor, just to show you exactly what we have in there. So we've got a few SQL scripts in there, and SQL again stands for Structured Query Language. We've got the create SQL script in here in this file. We also have populate.sql, and also the README files contained in there as well. And again, I've noted these TXT files that are there. If we go over to show you here, I'll flip this over to the side. Back to that file that we saved our command line prompt here. I'm just going to go ahead and explain that one more time. I can copy it. Okay, there we go. Again, this prefix will launch the MySQL instance from the command line here. That's your endpoint right over here, starting with that Bucephalus lead there. And again, that --P3306, and again, mind the case sensitivity there. That must be a capital P. 3306 is the port number we had specified when we launched the instance. -U, lowercase u, again, is the username. And then it's going to prompt the password that we created when we launched this database instance. And you should have that in your password manager. And again, the --T, that will essentially dump the session history into a text file. So let's go ahead and enter. Shows the password, as I just said. Go ahead and copy and paste the password that you created within that password manager. You should be able to access. Okay, I have accidentally entered the wrong password, so let's try that again. I know why. I had the wrong username. Pardon me, I'm sorry about that. It's Alexander. That's what I used for my username. Then I just called the file name Alexander J. Singleton, so that's my bad. Try that one more time. Just enter it in. Okay. Now I've successfully accessed the instance that's server-side, or at least I will be. As you can see, I am now in that instance, the micro instance, server-side, remotely. So this is actually in another remote location somewhere else on another server. And I'm going to show you what databases are available within this instance by hitting that command, show databases. As you can see, that crash course database that was created, or that we created along, is now within the database, or databases available within this instance. So I'm going to go ahead and use that database we created, and you'll see that it'll be empty when you go to show tables. There's nothing there. So what I like to think of a database, and just kind of give you a little bit more explanation of what a database actually is, or I'm sorry, an Excel worksheet. That's what I like to think of a database as, or an Excel file. An Excel file is, if you think of the Excel file as a workbook, that's the database, and then every single worksheet that's within that file is a table. So, and it's a visual representation of what a database is, or what we're logged into. So what we've done now is we're logged in, or we're using the crash course database, the Excel file, and we're going to create some tables or worksheets for the Excel example and go from there. So in order to do that, we're going to run those scripts that are contained within that repo that we just downloaded to the desktop. And we do that by running the following command, that's .create SQL, and that'll run the scripts contained within this file, and it'll specify the data types along with the name of the column, or what they should be corresponding to that data type. So customer ID will be an integer. These names will be char 50s or strings, and then the primary key will also be assigned by a customer ID. That's what we're assigning as the primary key in that table. I'm not going to go too much further since this is an introductory level tutorial. So again, just think of each table as a worksheet within the database. Now that we have that ready to go, we can say, okay, let's go ahead and create some structure within this database by running this script. Okay, so what happened here is that we have now created rows. We've now created columns within these tables. We've created tables within this workbook. So let's run it. Show what I'm talking about here. Show tables. Again, these are the worksheets contained within the database. You can see there, customers, order, item. So we've created those tables within the Excel file, if you think of it that way. But really all we've done is created tables in a database. So now we can see that what's in these tables. Well, let's take a look. There's going to be nothing in there because we have the structure outlined, but we don't have any data that we've seeded yet. So we're going to say select all from customers. It's empty, as you can see, which makes sense. So let's go ahead and seed all of the tables here with the data that we've at our disposal within the SQL script here, populate.sql. And what's going to happen here, these are, again, SQL commands insert into values, in the caps there. Those are SQL commands. It will, by running this script, this whole file, it will run these SQL commands or script and upload those or place them into that file. So customers, that's the customers table. It'll insert into customers, customer ID, customer name, customer address. Those corresponding table fields or columns will have these fields in there. That'll be 1001 with a unique identifier, and that's the address, city, state, etc. So again, these data types will correspond to these columns which are created in that SQL, that create.sql file. So you'll have the data ready to be seeded after we run the populate.sql command within the command line here. And boom. You can see it's running all of these SQL scripts, the SQL within this file. So now we can verify that by checking one of the tables. So we said select all from customers earlier to display all the data contained within. Now we do have data. And let me format that just a little easier on the eyes now. As you can see, we now have a table filled with the data we seeded. So that should sort of explain what a database is, hopefully. Hopefully I clarified that. Again, all a database really is a non-visual representation or the raw version of a Excel file or greater spreadsheet. hopefully this helped, and if not, feel free to contact me on the web there. My contact information is on GitHub. This README will be available. I'm going to post this later on today. And again, hope you enjoyed. Thank you. Bye-bye.